What happens when a man who's only ever known destruction is suddenly given something to protect? A man whose knuckles are scarred from 100 fights, whose soul is tattooed with 1,000 regrets, stops his roaring Harley on the edge of nowhere. There, lying in the dirt, he finds a little girl broken, bleeding, whispering a prayer that sounds like his own damnation. Please don't hurt me. The man they called Wreck for the chaos he left behind does something next that shatters his entire world. One small act of mercy sparks a storm of redemption, a desperate fight for survival, and a bond that will teach him that even a heart forged in violence can still learn to love. The deafening roar of his custom Harley nicknamed Warhorse echoed through the burning New Mexico desert. It was a beast of steel and thunder, screaming across Route 666, defying the silence of the wasteland. Behind the handlebars sat Rex Callahan, built like a war machine, muscles hard, eyes cold, and hands calloused from too many years of fighting. The heat bit into his skin, but he welcomed it. It was punishment, a reminder that he was still alive, even if he didn't deserve to be. 8 months ago, Rec had walked away from the Vulture Syndicate Motorcycle Club, a brotherhood bound by loyalty, blood, and crime. He'd traded chaos for quiet, violence for solitude. Now his days were the same: bitter coffee, greasy hands fixing other men's bikes, and nights filled with ghosts that refused to let him rest. In his pocket was a creased photograph of his daughter, his little girl, lost not to death, but to his own choices. He'd drowned her childhood in whiskey and smoke, trading her smile for the club's approval. The memory of her hand slipping from his that final day still haunted him. The desert stretched before him, endless and merciless. This was his church, now a place where no one asked for forgiveness, and no one offered it. He'd learned the hard way that loyalty could be a weapon. The breaking point came when Silas Cobra Vance, the club's ruthless president, ordered him to burn down a rival's house with a wife and child sleeping inside. That was the night Rex said no. The beating they gave him should have killed him, but it didn't. They spared his life out of respect for the legend he'd once been. The price was exile and the fear that one day his past would come roaring back for him. Warhorse sputtered as he crested a rise, and that's when he saw it. Black tire marks carved into the road. A mangled minivan wrapped around a power pole, smoke hissing from the wreck. He stopped, his instincts military, and biker collided. He knew what to do: check for threats, call for help. But another voice screamed louder, keep riding. This wasn't his problem. But then he heard it, a sound so faint it could have been the wind. Please, don't hurt me. She couldn't have been more than 7. A tiny thing with tangled black hair and a sundress torn by glass. Her leg bent wrong. Blood smeared across her face. Yet it was her eyes, huge and terrified, that made him freeze. Hey now, little bird, he said softly, kneeling beside her. His gravelly voice, once used for threats, came out gentle. I'm not gonna hurt you. My name's Rex. I'm here to help. Her breaths came fast and shallow. Mommy, she whispered. That single word tore something inside him apart. He glanced at the van, silent, still. He'd seen that kind of silence before, back in Iraq. Some fights were already lost before help ever arrived. Let's just worry about you right now. Okay, he said, pulling off his leather vest, the old club patch still visible, and draping it over her small body. Can you tell me your name, Mia? She whispered, her voice trembling. My leg hurts. I know. Sweetheart, I'm gonna call for help and stay right here with you. Promise, for the first time. Her eyes softened just a flicker, but enough. Rec dialed 911, his thumb hovering over the button as he realized what this meant. Getting involved meant questions, attention, exposure, but he pressed it anyway. He couldn't walk away, not again. He stayed by her side, shading her from the brutal sun. I need to check you over, Mia. I'll be real gentle, but tell me if anything hurts more, all right? She nodded weakly, clutching his vest. His trained eyes scanned her quickly. Broken leg, maybe cracked ribs, no head trauma. She was alive. You know, he said softly, I used to be a soldier. We learned how to patch people up. You're gonna be okay? Her eyes widened. A real soldier. Did you fight monsters? A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Sometimes. But helping people, that was the best part. He hit dial. An ambulance is on the way. We'll wait together. Will you stay with me? She asked, her small hand gripping his finger. The question hit him like a punch to the chest. He'd heard those same words before from his own daughter, 5 years ago, lying in a hospital bed while he was off drinking with his biker brothers. He hadn't made it back in time. Lily had died asking for her daddy. Yes, he said finally, his voice breaking under the weight of that one word. I'll stay. The operator guided him through instructions, but his focus never left Mia. They'll be here soon, little bird. 10 minutes. He smiled faintly. You want to tell me what you're learning in school? 2nd grade, she said, her voice weak but steady. My teacher has a lizard named Pascal. We feed him crickets. He chuckled softly. That's brave of you. She looked up at him again. You'll stay, right? I promise. He reached into his wallet and pulled out a worn photo of Lily. This was my little girl. She always said when you're scared, think about something that makes you happy. What makes you happy, Mia? She thought for a moment. My Aunt Evie and puppy videos. Rex smiled through the ache in his chest. Then think about that. The distant wail of sirens cut through the stillness. Relief washed over him and something else. Something fierce. He didn't want to let go when the paramedics arrived. They were shocked by his detailed report, his soldier's precision. You've had medical training? One asked. Army medic. He said simply. She's stable. Compound fracture on the right. Possible rib injury. No head trauma. The lead medic nodded. Impressed. Good work. You probably saved her. As they lifted Mia onto the stretcher, her wide eyes searched for him. Is Mr. Rex coming? The sheriff nearby glanced at him. That's up to the medics. She's asking for him, the paramedic said. A calm patient is a stable patient. Get in. Rex climbed into the ambulance, taking her tiny hand in his. Told you I'd stay, he whispered. As the sirens wailed and the desert blurred past, he felt the ghosts of his past press close, but for the first time, he didn't flinch. He'd made a promise, and this time, he wasn't going to break it. The ambulance ride to Desert View General was a blur of flashing lights and flashing memories. Rex sat hunched on the bench seat, watching the medics work over Mia. The rhythmic beeps, the oxygen hiss, it all dragged him back to a night he'd spent years trying to forget. Another ambulance, another little girl. Lily had died waiting for a father who never came home. But this time, Rex stayed. He squeezed Mia's tiny hand whenever she whimpered, his rough thumb brushing away her tears. When they reached the hospital, everything became chaos, doors flying open, doctors shouting, bright lights cutting through the darkness. They wheeled Mia away behind swinging double doors marked trauma. Just like that, she was gone, swallowed by a world of white coats and fast decisions. Rex stood motionless in the hallway, his hands still stained with dust and blood, his heart pounding like a war drum. He sat down in the waiting room, surrounded by the quiet hum of vending machines and the stale smell of hospital coffee. He'd been through battles, raids, beatings, but nothing made him feel as helpless as that moment. His mind spun with flashes of the accident, Mia's face, her trembling voice. Then he heard a nurse call out, "Excuse me, are you the man who brought in the little girl from the crash?" He looked up. "Yeah, that's me. There's a woman here asking for her," the nurse said. "She says she's the child's aunt." Rex's eyes followed her gesture. A woman in scrubs rushed toward the front desk, her face pale with panic, her hair falling out of a messy bun. She looked like she'd run straight from an operating room. "Where is she?" the woman gasped. "Is she okay?" "That must be Dr. Evelyn Reed," the nurse said quietly. Evelyn turned at the mention of her name. When her eyes landed on Rex, she froze. He must have looked like a nightmare 6'4", road dust covering his leather jacket, tattoos creeping up his neck, eyes haunted and tired. "You," she said, her voice sharp but trembling. "You're the one who found her." "Yes, ma'am," he said, rising slowly. In his hands, he still held a small stuffed bunny, something he'd picked up near the crash. "She was holding this. I think it's hers." Evelyn's eyes softened instantly. She took the bunny, her fingers curling around it like it was sacred. "Barnaby," she whispered, her voice breaking. "She never sleeps without him." She looked back at Rex, her fear slowly replaced by confusion. "The paramedics said you rode with her, that you stayed." "She was scared," he said quietly. "Didn't seem right to leave her." Evelyn studied him for a moment. And you are? Rex Callahan. Her brows tightened. The deputy mentioned your name. She hesitated before continuing. He also said Mia's injuries could have been worse, that whoever found her kept her stable. That was you? He shrugged, uncomfortable under the attention. Old Army medic training. Just did what needed doing. Evelyn nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. Then thank you, she whispered, for saving her. The words hit harder than he expected. Gratitude wasn't something he was used to. He gave a small nod and turned toward the exit. His job was done. The kid was safe. Time to disappear before the questions started. But then he heard it. A small, fragile voice from somewhere beyond the curtains. Mr. Rex. Where's Mr. Rex? He froze. That one sound pulled every piece of his armor apart. He couldn't walk away. Not again. Hours later, Rex sat at the corner of a dim dive bar called Last Chance Saloon. The place smelled like stale beer and regret. He stared at the amber liquid in his glass, trying to drown the sound of Mia's voice echoing in his head. Every time he blinked, he saw her face so small, so scared, so trusting. He thought of Lily, thought of every promise he'd broken. He muttered under his breath, "You don't get to save people, Rex. You're the reason they need saving." The bartender slid another drink toward him. "You look like hell, man." Rex ignored him. As he reached for his wallet, something soft fell from his jacket pocket. Barnaby the bunny, the one he'd given back to Evelyn. He stared at it, confused, then realized Mia must have dropped it during the chaos. The toy lay there on the sticky counter, staring at him with button eyes full of silent accusation. That damn bunny. He slammed a 20 on the bar and walked out without another word. The desert night air hit him like a slap, cold and merciless. He climbed on his bike and gunned the engine, heading back toward the hospital. The sound of his Harley roared through the silence, each mile pounding like a heartbeat saying one thing over and over, "Don't fail her too." When he walked through those automatic hospital doors again, the night nurse looked up in surprise. "Mr. Callahan, you're back. She's been asking for you. How's she doing?" "Stable," the nurse said with a tired smile. "Fractured leg, a few ribs, but no internal injuries. You found her just in time. She keeps talking about the soldier who stayed with her. Room 314. He pushed the door open quietly. The room was dim, lit only by the soft glow of a monitor. Mia lay in a hospital bed, her leg wrapped in a bright blue cast. She looked impossibly small. When she saw him, her face lit up. "Mr. Rex, you came back." "Of course I did," he said, voice rough. He held up the bunny. "You forgot someone. Barnaby." She squealed softly, clutching it to her chest. "I thought he was gone forever." He smiled, settling into the chair beside her bed. "Not a chance. Had to make sure he got home." Her eyes grew serious. "Are you gonna leave again?" The question cut deep. He leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. "Not if you don't want me to." "I don't," she said simply. "Aunt Evie has to work a lot. She's a doctor. She can't stay." Her words carried a sadness far beyond her age. "Mia," he asked gently, "where are your mom and dad?" She hugged Barnaby tighter. "They went to heaven. The car crash took them. Aunt Evie says it's not my fault, but sometimes I think it is." Rex's throat tightened. "Why would you think that, little bird?" Her voice broke. "We were driving so they could see me get my reading award. If I didn't get the award, maybe they wouldn't have been on the road." Tears welled up and rolled down her cheeks. "Now Aunt Evie's sad all the time. I heard her say she doesn't know how she's gonna take care of me." He sat silently for a long moment, his heart cracking open. Her guilt was the same poison that had eaten him alive for years. "Mia," he said softly, "listen to me. What happened wasn't your fault. Your parents loved you so much they wanted to see you shine. And your aunt, she's scared because she loves you. Sometimes being scared just means you care too much. Grown-ups mess up too, you know. But that doesn't mean they don't want you." Her eyes glistened. "You really think so?" "I know so," he said, smiling faintly. "And if you want, I can talk to her. Maybe help out sometimes." Her little face brightened. "You do that, but you're a stranger." He adjusted Barnaby's ear. "Sometimes the best families are the ones we build ourselves." Footsteps approached. Evelyn stood at the door, exhaustion etched across her face. She froze at the sight of Rex sitting by Mia's bed. her niece smiling for the first time since the accident. "Mr. Rex brought Barnaby back," Mia said proudly. "And he said he's going to help us." Evelyn looked at Rex, a dozen emotions flickering in her eyes. Fear, confusion, maybe a spark of trust. He rose slowly, meeting her gaze. "If you'll have me," he said quietly. And in that small hospital room, something fragile and beautiful began to take root. Hope. In a place where both of them had forgotten it could grow. The official letter from Child and Family Services lay on Evelyn's kitchen table like a live grenade. Its cold words bled fear into every corner of her small apartment. She read the letter again, her hands trembling. It was a formal case review triggered automatically after Mia's accident and hospital stay. The government wanted proof that she, a single resident physician drowning in debt, could properly care for a 7-year-old with a cast and trauma in her eyes. The message was clear: prove you're enough, or we'll find someone who is. At the other end of the table, Mia sat coloring quietly, her little leg propped on a chair, tongue between her teeth in deep concentration. "What's that letter say, Aunt Evie?" she asked without looking up. "Oh, just grown-up stuff, sweetheart," Evelyn said with a practiced calm that didn't reach her voice. A knock at the door made her jump. It was 6 p.m. sharp, just like every night that week. Rex Callahan stood outside, a paper bag in one hand, the smell of pizza drifting from it. He'd been coming by every evening since the hospital. At first, Evelyn thought he was just checking in on Mia. But as the days went by, she realized he wasn't just showing up, he was staying. "Mr. Rex." Mia beamed, her whole face lighting up as she waved him in. "Hey, little bird," he said, smiling softly. "How's my favorite artist doing today?" "I drew a dragon," Mia announced proudly. "See? He breathes glitter fire." Rex chuckled, kneeling beside her chair. "That's one fierce dragon. Aunt Evie's right, dragons are protectors. Strong, brave, and loyal." Their eyes met over Mia's head. Evelyn saw the warmth in his smile, but she also saw the storm hiding beneath it. His presence filled the small apartment, tall, broad, covered in scars and ink. He was the kind of man who made space feel smaller, but somehow, with Mia, his edges softened. "Mia, honey, go wash up for dinner," Evelyn said gently. The girl nodded and crutched her way to the bathroom, leaving Evelyn and Rex alone in the fading light. She slid the letter toward him. "We have a problem." Rex read it in silence, his jaw tightening as he scanned the page. "They're questioning your custody. They're setting me up to fail," she said bitterly. "I work 80 hours a week. I'm barely keeping up with rent. And now they want to see if I can be a full-time guardian too." Her voice cracked. "I'm a doctor, Rex. I save people every day. But I can't even convince a bureaucrat that I can save my own niece." He leaned forward. "What do you need?" The question stopped her cold. No pity, no judgment, just raw sincerity. "I need to prove them wrong," she said quietly. "A bigger apartment in a safer district. A nanny for when I'm on call. A lawyer to handle the hearing. I need." She laughed bitterly. "A miracle." Rex said nothing. He just studied the letter again, eyes flicking across the dates and conditions. "You've got 2 weeks before the review," he murmured. "Yes," she sighed. "They'll inspect the apartment, check my finances, interview Mia. If I can't meet their standards." Her voice faded. "They won't take her," he said flatly. "This isn't your fight," Evelyn said, shaking her head. "You've already done enough. You don't understand, these people dig. They'll find your record, your past. I don't even know what's in it, but I know it's not clean." He stayed quiet for a long time, then reached into his worn leather jacket. He pulled out an envelope and laid it on the table. "A cashier's check for $25,000. Evelyn blinked. What is this?" "It's not charity," he said softly. "It's an investment in Mia's future. Use it. For rent, a lawyer, whatever it takes." Her throat tightened. "Rex, I can't take this. You don't even know me." He looked down, his fingers tracing the edge of the table. "You're the kind of person who saves people for a living. And that little girl," his voice cracked, "she's the reason I remember how to live." Before Evelyn could answer, Mia hobbled back in, face bright with excitement. "Dinner time," she chirped, oblivious to the tension in the room. As they ate, Evelyn watched the way Rex listened to Mia, really listened, with patience and gentle humor. He laughed at her stories, helped her cut her pizza, and even offered to help her color after. It was like watching a man rebuild his soul one small act at a time. When Mia was tucked into bed that night, Evelyn lingered by the kitchen sink, watching Rex clean up without being asked. "You're good with her," she said quietly. "She reminds me what good looks like," he replied. Evelyn folded her arms, her voice softening. "Why are you doing this for us?" He hesitated, then looked up. "Because sometimes the people who fight the hardest are the ones who need someone in their corner." Her chest tightened at the honesty in his tone. It scared her how much she wanted to believe him. The next evening came, and then the next. Days turned into a rhythm. Dinner together, homework time, Mia's laughter echoing through the apartment. Rex would sit in the corner afterward, whittling away at a block of wood with careful precision. His scarred hands moved delicately, shaping something beautiful from something rough. "What are you making?" Mia asked one night, watching him from the couch. "A wolf," he said, carving its snout. "My old man taught me how to do this. Said a man's hands should build, not just break." "Was your dad a soldier too?" she asked. "Nah," he said softly. "He was a carpenter. Built houses, fixed things that were broken." Evelyn looked up from her notes, her eyes resting on him. There was pain in his voice, years of it. She'd seen that same quiet ache in veterans who came through there. "What happened to him?" Mia asked. "Heart attack," Rex said, his knife pausing mid-cut. "Year 1 graduated high school. I was supposed to go to college, football scholarship and everything." He shrugged. Life had other plans. Evelyn listened quietly, the air thick with empathy. "Is that when you joined the army?" "Not right away," he admitted. "Made a mess of my life first. The army straightened me out." "And after that?" Evelyn asked gently. He hesitated. "After that?" His jaw tightened. "I lost my way again." Sensing the shift, Mia quickly changed the subject. "Are you going to make the wolf's teeth sharp?" "They should be super sharp." He smiled. "Sharp as needles, little bird." Evelyn studied him as he worked. The hardened biker she'd first met was fading, replaced by something she hadn't expected, a man capable of kindness, of peace. She hesitated, then whispered, "Tell me about your daughter." The knife slipped, leaving a tiny scar in the wood. He didn't look up. "Her name was Lily," he said quietly. "She'd be 12 this year." Mia's eyes widened. "Did she like wolves?" "Loved them," he said. "Always wanted a big dog that looked like one. I kept saying soon, baby girl. But I was always gone, always chasing the wrong kind of loyalty." Evelyn felt her chest ache. "The accident?" she asked gently. He nodded. "Drunk driver. I was 1,000 miles away, celebrating with the club. She died asking for me." Silence filled the room, heavy and alive. Then Mia's small voice broke through. "Is that why you stopped when you saw me?" Rex looked at her, eyes glassy. "Yeah," he said softly. "I couldn't save Lily, but I could save you." "I'm glad you did," Mia whispered. "And I bet Lily is glad too." Rex set the carving knife down, his hands trembling slightly. "She would have liked you," he said. "You're brave like she was." Evelyn's heart twisted. It all made sense now, the gentleness, the guilt. The way he looked at Mia, like she was something holy. He wasn't just helping, he was healing. "When you finish the wolf," Mia murmured sleepily, "can you make a family next? A mommy wolf, a daddy wolf, and a little girl wolf?" Rex looked at Evelyn across the room. Their eyes met, understanding, fragile and real. "I think that's a wonderful idea," Evelyn said softly. Rex picked up his knife again, the blade steady in his calloused hands, and with each careful stroke, he began carving something he thought he'd lost forever, a future. The note was tucked under his truck's windshield wiper, a single folded page damp with morning dew. 3 words, scrawled in familiar handwriting, "Time for a talk." Beneath it, an address in the old warehouse district, no signature, none needed. Rex would know Cobra's handwriting anywhere. He crushed the note in his fist, eyes sweeping the parking lot. They'd found him, after 8 quiet months of peace. The Vulture Syndicate had finally caught his scent, and the timing couldn't have been worse. Just when Mia was starting to laugh again, just when Evelyn was beginning to trust him. His past came roaring back. The warehouse stood at the edge of town, all rust and shadow. 5 motorcycles were parked outside, their chrome gleaming like knives in the dying light. Rec knew every one of them. Silas Cobra Vance leaned against the doorway, still sharp in his 50s slick-back hair, perfect leather cut, the kind of smile that promised nothing but pain. "Well, I'll be damned," Cobra drawled. Rec Callahan, looking all domestic. "Word is, you're playing house with a doctor and a kid." "That true?" Rec's jaw tightened. "My life's not your business anymore. See? That's where you're wrong, brother." Cobra stepped closer, voice smooth as oil. "You never walk away from family. You bled for us. You owe us. Family." Rec's voice was low, controlled. "Family doesn't burn houses with kids inside." Snake, one of the enforcers, laughed cruelly. "Look who found his conscience." "Shut it, Snake," Cobra snapped. Then his tone turned soft, dangerous. "The feds are asking about us, about old jobs. Your name keeps popping up. If I thought for a second you'd talk." "I haven't said a damn word," Rec cut in. "Not yet," Cobra said, pulling out his phone. On the screen was a picture taken that morning, Evelyn walking to her car, unaware of the camera. But maybe a man with something to lose is more likely to make mistakes. Rex's vision blurred with fury. "You stay the hell away from them, then prove where your loyalty lies," Cobra said calmly. "We've got business down in Phoenix. One last job. You ride with us. Show me you're still one of us. And maybe we all forget this conversation happened." Rex's voice was a rasp. "And if I say no?" Cobra smiled coldly. "Then I pay a visit to that hospital. Room 314, wasn't it?" For a heartbeat, the world went silent. Rex's pulse thundered in his ears. He knew Cobra's threats were never idle. "You've got 24 hours, Cobra said, pocketing his phone. "After that, we stop asking nicely." As the engines roared to life, Rex stood motionless in the dust, his reflection shimmering on their taillights. For years, he'd thought the past was something he could outrun. But now, it had found the only people who ever made him want to stop running. That night, he drove straight to Evelyn's apartment. It was barely dawn when she opened the door, hair messy, fear already rising in her eyes. "Rex, what's wrong?" He laid it all out, the note, the threat, the picture. He told her everything, his voice low but steady. When he was done, she stared at him, horrified. "You want us to what?" "Pack a few things," he said. "Clothes, essentials. I've got a cabin deep in the Gila forest, safe, off-grid. You and Mia can stay there till this is over," she repeated, her voice cracking. "You mean until you go get yourself killed?" "It's the only way," he said quietly. "If I don't face them, they'll come for you." Behind her, Mia appeared on her crutches, rubbing her sleepy eyes. "Are we going somewhere?" "Mr. Rex," he forced a smile. "Just a little trip, kiddo, an adventure." "Is it bad business?" she asked, her voice soft. "Just business," he lied. The drive up the mountain was long and silent. Evelyn followed his bike through the winding roads until the trees swallowed the sky. When they reached the cabin, Mia gasped. "It's like a storybook house." The cabin was simple but strong wood. Walls, a stone fireplace, and shelves lined with tools and books. "You built this?" Evelyn asked, her fingers brushing the smooth banister. "Most of it," he said. "Took me a few summers." Mia wandered upstairs to the loft, marveling at the skylight. "Can I sleep up here? I can see the stars." Rex smiled faintly. "It's all yours, little bird." After Mia fell asleep, he and Evelyn sat by the cold fireplace. The silence between them was thick with what neither wanted to say. "What's your plan, Rex?" Evelyn finally whispered. "I meet Cobra tomorrow," he said simply. "I end this, and if you can't..." He stared into the darkness. "Then you stay here. There's food for a month, a generator, and a gun in the drawer if you need it." Evelyn frowned. "Don't talk like that." He stood, pulling an envelope from his jacket and placing it on the table. "The cabin's deed, the title, it's all in your name now." She froze. "You what? Why would you do that?" He swallowed hard. "Because Mia deserves a safe place. Because you gave me a reason to be a better man. Because this time, I'm not running." From the loft came the soft sound of Mia talking in her sleep. Evelyn looked up at him, her eyes wet. "Promise me you'll come back." He met her gaze, his voice breaking. "I promise I'll try. That's not good enough. It's the only promise I can keep." He turned toward the door, keys in hand. Lock it behind me. Don't open it for anyone but me. If I'm not back in 48 hours, burn the envelope. Then disappear. She tried to speak, but the words stuck. By the time she found her voice, he was gone. The roar of his Harley faded into the night, leaving her and Mia in the quiet cabin. Hearts heavy with hope and fear. The quarry was a scar in the desert, raw and silent. Cobra waited there with his men. 5 bikes lined like tombstones. Welcome home, Cobra called as Rek rolled in. This isn't a homecoming, Rek said, stepping off the bike. It's an ending. The fight was brutal. No rules, no mercy. Just fists, knives, and years of betrayal exploding in the dust. Rek moved like a man with nothing to lose, but even his fury couldn't match 5 armed men. He dropped 2 of them before a blow from Hammer sent him sprawling. Cobra lunged, knife flashing. Pain ripped through Rek's side as the blade struck. He fell to his knees, coughing blood. You see, Cobra hissed, no one leaves the family. Rek looked past him, toward the ridge, a faint glint of scope, Marcus. His old friend from the army. He'd come. You're right, Rek gasped. Family is forever. He smiled weakly, and you shouldn't threaten a Marine's family. The rifle crack split the air. Cobra's eyes went wide as a perfect red hole bloomed in his forehead. He dropped where he stood. The others froze, shock and fear chasing away their rage. Marcus and 3 other veterans emerged from the ridge, guns raised. Rek staggered to his feet, clutching his bleeding side. It's over, he said hoarsely. Take your dead and go. The vultures died here today. Hammer stared at him, jaw tight, then nodded. One by one, they carried Cobra's body to their bikes and rode off into the dust. Marcus rushed to Rek's side, patching him up with a field dressing. You're insane, he muttered. Maybe, Rek grinned weakly, but I kept my promise. When he finally made it back to the cabin, dawn was spilling gold across the trees. Evelyn stood on the porch, tears already streaking her face. The unopened envelope clutched in her hand. Mia limped beside her. Barnaby held tight. You promised, Evelyn whispered, voice breaking as she ran to him. I did, he said softly, his body trembling. And I tried. Mia reached for his hand, her tiny fingers wrapping around his. You're home now, she said simply. He smiled through the pain. Yeah, little bird. I am, years later. A photo sat on the mantel of a small ranch house, a man, a woman, and a smiling girl. The kind of picture that spoke of peace, hard won. Tell the story again, 11-year-old Mia said. Curling up beside him on the couch, Rex smiled, his hands rough but gentle as he ruffled her hair. It all started on a lonely highway, he began, with a man running from his past, and a little girl who taught him how to stop. Evelyn leaned in, her hand finding his. Our family didn't start the usual way, she said softly. It started with a broken man, a grieving woman, and a child brave enough to trust a stranger. He wasn't a stranger, Mia said firmly. He was a soldier who forgot how to come home. We just showed him the way, and that was the truth of it. The story of Rek Callahan wasn't just about redemption. It was about how family isn't the blood you're born with, it's the people who choose to stay, to fight, and to love you even when you think you don't deserve it. Because in the end, every road, no matter how dark, can still lead you home.